Hello, everyone, and welcome again to another episode of M365 Voice. My name is Mike Marlani,
I'm Sarah Hazy.
And I'm Antonio Mayo.
and today we have two special guests that everyone is familiar and know them, famous on multiple fronts within the community at Microsoft as well. Vesa Juvonen and Waldek Mastykarz. Welcome.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, folks.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Infamous and infamous.
I hope
That's
for
what
only
you've been
the good things.
Yeah, yes, only for the good things, hopefully.
Only
Yes.
for the good things.
Always good things. Always good things. We have a lot to talk about. We're not going to take a lot of your time, but before we start, why don't you introduce yourselves to the community? Anyone who's probably never, which is hard to believe, never actually heard you or know about you, but let's do a small, quick introduction.
Let's do alphabetical. So I'll start. Fine. Vesa Juvonen, Principal Product Manager in Microsoft. Have been working for Microsoft now 18 years and primarily focused on community topics and extensibility and many other areas as well. But that's kind of my primary day-to-day job.
And I'm a developer advocate for M365. I've been at Microsoft for 4 years now. And before that, I've been MVP for apparently 12 and a half years. So there's that. I've been around for a while.
Yes, absolutely. So we have so many things to talk about, community-wise, development-wise, career. I think if you want to start with, we've been talking about what we're going to talk to you about, specific topics, and we have multiple ones. So let's start with from a career development perspective, career planning. We had some anniversary that happened recently, Vesa. So if you want to talk to us about your journey into Microsoft or journey before and lead into Microsoft, what's your passion? How did you make that move? What do you love the most about working with Microsoft? And
How much time do I have? No, so
2 minutes.
And how long
TLDR.
Exactly.
2 minutes.
And how long have you been there?
no. So I had a 18-year anniversary. So obviously every single year everybody has an anniversary if they don't change the company. So that for me it's 18. 20 is within 2 years. Hopefully get there as well. But it's for me. So I started in Microsoft as a consultant back in 2006, and then transitioned to a product manager role or engineering role in the Redmond organization. So it's kind of a bit of a special setup for me because I'm still working remotely from home. And when I started remotely working from home from Finland, there was no Skype or Teams or anything, so it's a bit of a weird thing. So it was way before pandemic already, and there was a lot of pain points for me.
Owls,
and
pigeons.
as well. Yes, but it wasn't actually at the time. It wasn't really typical that the meeting invites, for example, would have the Teams details on it. So then I needed to always people being. I can't remember, was it Skype or what, a link, and basically say, can somebody call me so I can actually at least listen what's happening in the meeting room. So, but then if you think about how time has changed, it's significantly changed. Now we are all doing a recording of this one, for example, in Teams, and it's a completely natural thing. So there's a lot of changes. Also quickly kind of an explaining in my case, 18 years, I'm 8 years as a consultant and then transitioning to the engineering role, which is basically a full reset in Microsoft. There's no career path in Microsoft from consulting to engineering. It's basically you're starting from scratch, so to say, except you know the company rules and you know how the community works. And I had already worked closely with the engineering a bit. So quick intros. That was a 2-minute quick summary. So.
You did really well at keeping that to 2 minutes. Waldek, do you want to talk a little bit about your career pathing from 12 and a half years as an MVP to Microsoft?
Well, so going all the way back, it's for a big part, it's just one string of coincidences and serendipity, I guess is the word. Like I remember originally I had so that was the nephew of my wife's, and the guy was a manager with one of the big IT firms around the world. And like back then I was 18, 19. I aspire to be like when I grow up, I want to be that. Like I want to be at that firm. Like that's cool. And there was this job fair. So like I know, and basically the way it was. So back then I was at school, and I would have internship. And the way it works is that you would take the less internship of the school because they would typically offer you the job. And I was at the stage when I had to do another one in front of that. So I wanted to go to another firm because I had that other firm aligned, planned for the last one. So I went to another firm, did internship there. They offered me a job. So that was basically my first job in the IT, or like big like job. So like not part-time job building sites, like true like full-time job, right? And in fact, like these guys didn't even let me finish school in a way. So I finished school while being employed already because they wanted to keep me. And basically at that stage, so I had my internship assignment that was like migrating content from one CMS to another. And at that stage, I got this like fork in the road choice. Do you want to do that, or do you want to look at that thing called Moss? It was like, no idea, but sounds cool. So let me do that. And that is how I rolled in, totally by a coincidence, into SharePoint. And that was kind of the beginning. And that was kind of like, that was in the late 2006, 2007. Like the only thing we had back then were books, right? Like you wanted to know something, you would buy a book or go to a course. You would do that in person, and you would learn everything about everything, and you would know it. And like for 3 years, you were good. The only thing was like there was like very few blogs back then, very very few books. So it's almost like I would love like taking things apart and see how they really work. So at that stage, like I got an idea to start a blog. But the first thing that occurred to me, like, what if I don't have enough to say? So basically, me and 2 other guys made a deal. Okay, so we will start with 3 of us so that if one person doesn't have something to say, then we have the other 2. Turns out one person never blogged. The other guy put an article out. I am still here. And I don't write as much as I used to, but I wrote for quite a few years. So
Here's
so
the
that
thing
was
about
like really this big plan. And then kind of like from one thing to another. So I spent with that firm, I think 4 years. Then I went to another firm in the same space. I was there for 5 years. Then I moved to another place. But it was like for, I think, all this time, I was, very much in the SharePoint / O360 / BPOS / O365 / M365 space. And then 4 years back, and there was also this interesting thing where I was an MVP. I was like, I don't want to join the Microsoft. Like, no, I'd like to be free. I like to be able to say what I want to say. I don't want to be, tied by the corporate things, and I'm internal. And I don't know. I like to do things. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, in a way, like everything has an upside to it, but there's also like things like, well, like there are rules by which you play. But it was never my bigger. But like I never aspired to work at Microsoft. It was never a plan. It was never a thing. But then it's almost like like I used to be an MVP for so many years, and it kind of got ingrained in me, like helping others grow, showing them what they can do with our tech. It's like, why wouldn't I make that my job as opposed to a thing I do next to the customer engagement, consulting, and everything else around, right? So I took the leap, and that was 4 years back, and I never looked back.
It's awesome.
I love these stories, and Waldek, I love what you said about
no plan.
Yes,
I love what
no
you
plan.
said about blogging, because I want to talk a little bit about passion projects, meaning things that we do that aren't directly related to enhancing our careers. Things that feed us, get us excited, and things like that. And blogging is amazing because I've had many people talk to me about how on earth do you do a blog? And the reality that I find for myself is the more I blog, the easier a time I find finding topics to blog about. The less I blog, the less I have to say. But the more you do it, you never run out of an idea pipeline of things if you do it frequently.
Oh yeah. And it's also, like very, very much. I think it's the other day I had this interesting talk about, because I don't know if you folks knew. Every year at Microsoft we do a hackathon, right? So basically everybody at Microsoft has the chance to, for a week, hack on a whatever pet thing you want to do, whether that's building something, reading something, basically try something out that you might not get to try otherwise, right? Because jobs, right? So I had a chance to attend few of these now, and I even got to the point where two of the things that I tried and hacked qualified for a patent. So I got these two
Nice.
patent cube awards, right? That I have there on my cabinet. Which you can see due to the blur. But if you think about that, I think it's very much seasonal, where you need to immerse yourself in, like, you need to give yourself the room to think. Because if the only thing you do is to respond to email, well, you will not be able to be creative and try new things. So in other words, it's opportunity you need to create. And I think it's the same with blogging, with pet hacks you want to do. You need to basically carve out some time and do it and try it, because, like, for one, it's fun. And if you ever think like, yeah, but I never come up with anything new, well, yeah, but how do you give yourself room to even try it? How do you create the room for you to think about things, as opposed to only receive and scroll and read? It was like, yeah, that's cool, but what about the output? Like, where do you create that space to put something out there? Right, and whether that's writing or playing an instrument or writing code, it's the same thing. Like, you need to make room for it.
And it's coming back on, for example, your career path, and actually mine as well. I got to be in engineering because of the code which I was doing as a passion project, and sharing that openly within the internet and exposing things, and writing a blog post as well, which unfortunately is no longer available because we killed MSDN blogs at some point. So super sad thing. But it's one of those things where as we contribute or create new things, then people will be more aware of what we do. So the communication is actually incredibly critical for the potential employers or for your career path in general. So people understand what you're capable of doing, what you do, and having that kind of Waldek had a super strict, for example, way of doing blog posts, at some point, once a week or twice a week or whenever you're doing those, and sending an emails and everything else, that forces you to generate new content and new material, which then is, let's face it, it's promotional material for you as well, because you put yourself out there and you're exposing your thinking, your skills for everybody else, which can be a horrifying experience as well.
I was just about to go to that. Like, it was like a 1-2, exactly that. The moment you create something in the open, you will get maybe an applause. You'll help folks. But you also get the critique, which is the other side of the coin. The one thing they don't teach you at school is to deal with that. And I guess maybe all of us collectively on this call, like, it would be great to hear all of yours. Like, how do you deal with that? How did you learn dealing with that, and what is your tactics to go about it?
Yeah, you're right, especially when you are in public and you look at as expert in your field, and you might write something, you might say something on our podcast or during a session or in a client engagement, and you might say something wrong. And then because especially these days, there's a lot of changes. So you get critique that, oh yeah, I've read it somewhere else that it's not the same as what you said. You just have to learn that, yes, I can help you. I'm an expert in something, but I don't know everything. And I'm here because I want to guide you towards the right place. It might be different ways to get to the end point, but that's how I try to get you to the end point. But you're right, you're gonna have to, when you get a critique, you can't take it personally, because Otherwise, it gets into you. You just have to be, I think, on my side, humble and that take it and then learn from it and say, okay, yeah, maybe I'm learned something new today.
Yeah.
Yep.
Waldek, I don't know if I've just been fortunate, but I've found that in my blogging and this podcast and other community engagements presenting at conferences, most people are pretty reasonable and most people have been pretty kind. And, I've occasionally gotten critiques, but maybe I'm lucky, I've never had someone kind of rage on me for something or really be upset about something. People might give critiques, and like Mike said, being humble about it, accepting the feedback and saying, it's a really good point, or admitting that you don't know everything. I think helps, just that level of accepting people's feedback.
Wait, Mike, you Antonio, you said you don't know everything. Wait, what? So, no,
I was going to say, Mike, and I thought you were going to say, Antonio, that you've never been wrong yet.
No, that's
no cocky whatsoever.
And the whole idea of nobody's been raging at you, I think that we sort of, Mike and I like raging back and forth at one another for things like email management. So we do that. Maybe we are our own worst critics. But here's the thing. I was certain early in my career that I knew everything that I needed to know. The longer I've been working, the more certain I am that the opposite is true. I think I've probably already forgotten most of the things that I needed to know. And I sit there and I think, I used to know the answer to that question. Might have been last week, might have been a decade ago, but I used to know the answer to many questions. And now I have to go back and search my own blog to remind myself what they were. Or someone else's. I think that the longer that you end up working, the more you realize how little you know, or how little you have the capacity to even hold on to.
Well, but I guess it's two things. Like, one thing you mentioned, like, there was a time where you felt like you knew everything about everything. I think that is age. I recognize that too. I was 20 something. Oh my God, like there was no mountain too high. I knew everything, and little I knew how little I knew, right? So, and then I think what's changed over the years, which is why like we experienced the fact like I don't feel like I know as much as I used to know in the past, because things change. Like, as I said first, like in the past, there would be a release, and for 3 years there wouldn't be anything new in a way. So you had a chance to really like solidly learn about things in depth. And now every single week there is something new. So I feel like we changed the way we learn from going deep on a few things to knowing kind of where things are so that we can bring them back if there's a need, but we don't recall the details because there is no need, because now we can find everything. And to tell you more, like with LLMs, like you get your own assistant. So why would you stuff your head with all the, trivias and details and facts where, to be honest, you don't need them? I guess kind of the experience.
Yeah. You can ask from the Copilot. So
yes, and I mean, like again, maybe it will not know exactly, but it will give you a direction to find things. And I think the experience that we get or that we build over the years with the breadth, of the things that we touched and we work with and we learned, I think that gives us the ability to find things easily and understand how they fit into the bigger scope of things with which we work, as opposed to, no, I need to know everything about everything so that I can pull up the few things that somebody might ask me about one day. No, that doesn't work.
No, not anymore. Things have changed dramatically with, like you said, Waldek, how much the platform that we work on changes every single week, right? There are thousands of new features and changes that come out literally every week. And staying on top of that in depth is impossible. So I found myself that how I learn this material has changed. Like, I think I've got a good base of underlying knowledge on how things generally work. And I can piece together, okay, this new thing came out. I bet it probably works like this because I understand the underlying platform and framework decently. But all the details, God, no, it's impossible to remember that now. It becomes an exercise of each week reviewing, at least for me, each week reviewing things and hopefully remembering them, later on when I need them, or going and looking them up, or using Copilot to find
Yeah.
answers.
Or knowing where to look, I think is
Yes.
the key. So
Yeah.
definitely, it's not about memorizing things, and it hasn't been like that for a long time, for sure.
Yeah.
So, but going somewhere and double checking things is important.
And it's so easy, right? It's like, what was it? Ask Vesa at Microsoft.com.
No, that's actually a good donkey bridge, as we say in Dutch and in Finnish. That means what is it? Come on, a segue.
Segue.
Direct translation is donkey bridge in both Finnish and in Dutch, which is interesting. But for me, it was never that I actually was even thought about knowing everything and was the skillful. I have a massive imposter syndrome, but also imposter syndrome.
Stop. This is Guy saying, like, Guy who used to be or who is an MCM, whereas like you know your thing, and then there's like a bit of gap, and then there are MCS, like folks who genuinely know deeply things throughout, saying like, no, I never know. I never felt like I knew everything.
But that's the thing, the imposter syndrome actually. So like in my case, I never actually thought about really even as a younger person, because I was a super shy, I would say, imposter syndrome, all of that stuff. And nowadays, the masks, this is easy. We're in Teams and we've been working in a US-based company for 2 decades soon. So you kind of transform. Microsoft broke me, so to say. But the imposter syndrome is actually an interesting thing as well, because it also drives you to learn more and more. Like in my case, yes, it went a bit overboard because I was evident that everybody else would actually know all of the details, and then I came to be the instructor in the MCM program because apparently they didn't know, but they were acting like they know. So I was like, well, I don't get this, but everybody else seems to get it, so I guess I need to study more. So
read more books.
Well, read more books, which is actually an interesting, if you think about from a career, if you think about a bit more younger people and everything else, everybody needs to understand that nobody knows everything. Quite often it's just an act that people, show that they should know everything, and then we all have our own pace to learn, and it's important to also manage that stress level so you don't actually train yourself to the burnout because you think that everybody else is smarter than you, because that's not a good thing either. So
very true.
Yeah.
So
multiple aspects on the discussion for sure. So
yeah, well, that leads us probably to the next thing we want to talk about. We've hinted on the Copilot and how things can help us in the LLMs, and especially on the M365 Copilot. What's your experience about how people are using Copilot, and how can we leverage that in terms of more productivity, more knowledge, more insights on things? And what's your experience with using it and promoting it?
Should I start?
I have an opinion and an idea.
I'm not surprised.
Surprised. I think that we didn't scratch the tip of the iceberg yet, or we are very much there. I think that for one, people aren't used to asking for help. One, and two, many folks don't know what they want. Right. So in other words, like if somebody tells you to do stuff, like you basically have a task to complete, right? Easy in theory. But if you get freedom, like, hey, like you get, a high objective, or high level objective, like you want to go that way, or this is what you want to achieve. But like with anything, there are multiple ways about it. Which way do you pick, and how do you even know which ways there are, right? And one thing that very often I see that doesn't occur to folks is they're like, hey, like you have this ever knowing assistant that you can ask anything, and nobody will know. So you can ask it the most, stupidest thing that come up with you, like, hey, what is that? And you can just like, until it hurts, because like, I don't get it. Explain again. I don't get it. Explain differently.
Yes, exactly.
Until you actually do. And nobody will judge you, and nobody will judge you, and nobody will know. So when you think about it, like, how does that change the way we work? It empowers so many folks, but only if you kind of take the leap. It's like, hey, now I have this thing that I can ask anything, like anything that occurs with me, I can ask it. And like the one example that I love is that, like, like if you have kids, especially, like age, I don't know, between 3 and 13, when they ask you stuff, and they ask you the most randomest things, which obviously I don't know. Like why is this like that? I don't know. That would typically be the answer, like, I don't know. Now it's like wait a minute,
Let's ask.
let's ask. And I have like a whole list of things that I ask LLM, like, and it's just like randomest thing. Like, why is this that way? Why is this like, how many steps would it take to walk to the moon? Let's see. So we can ask that thing about everything. And I think that changes it so much. But it's also like once we embrace the fact that we can have assistants for everything, and we can have them optimized to specific things. So like if you are a PM, if you work in marketing, if like no matter what your job is, right, you can have that, you can have assistants that help you do your work more effectively. And it's not meant that, one day AI will do work for us, and we will be all like, like the folks in Wall-E, chairs, sipping
Great movie.
drinks. Like, no. I don't think so, right? But I think that I think that LLMs have so much, and AI have the huge ability to help us work more easily and more effectively, right? Because of the potential, the ease of finding things, knowing things, synthesizing things, finding the relationship between things. And the cool thing is that they can find them in the most randomest thing. And maybe it's all, horse. Who knows? But maybe it's cool because maybe it's something that you would have never thought of it, because that's not the way you think. Well, now you have somebody that can think with, any way you want it to. You just need to be aware that it's there for you to use.
Yeah. Now, on kind of a Copilot topic, I will try back on where we are right now and then think about also coming back on what Waldek was saying there, scratching only the surface. Obviously, I think everybody of us understands the number one use case for Copilot is summarizing. The meeting summaries, everything else. I have at least way too many meetings throughout my week, with some getting invited, and then, it's better to have a summary on, okay, what happened, and then see if there's any mentions of me, and then I know if there's any task and everything else. That's kind of a logical thing, or a long document and it summarizes that. That's super easy, but that's really scratching the surface. And I think what Waldek was also there referring to is the next steps of the Copilot. You can imagine that I'm seriously just talking on the phone and saying, I want to book blah, 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 and it does that for you, or it will show you the UX based on the thing. So if you think about normal, Sarah, I think you're still employed by a bank, in the bank, and there's a bajillion systems. There's like 20,000 different systems which you use to manage your work, and you need to understand how they work. Rather than always transitioning to the other application, you could say for Copilot, hey, I'm interested in doing X and Y and Z, and poof, Copilot shows you the UX, or does the thing, or initiates the task. So rather than us being forced to use a bajillion different applications, we actually have the centralized assistant, which is smart enough to actually is operating against those different systems, or show you the needed UX directly within your within your screen, rather than you transitioning somewhere else. And I think, and then you are able to initiate tasks and long-running operations, and remind me tomorrow, can you get me tomorrow the latest Power BI results on the monthly active users for SharePoint framework since blah blah blah, and poof, in the morning it's waiting for me in the results. All of that is obviously, everybody knows. Everybody knows this is a stupid thing to say. Never say that, by the way. That's a really, because not everybody knows everything. But it's one of those things where we are heading to the direction where it's much more intelligent and it's much more helpful. We're just scratching the surface. Right now, we can see obviously Copilot. I can see the Copilot logo in this meeting. I can see Copilot logo in the chat with Waldek. I can see Copilot logo in my keyboard in the laptops. so which is step number one. But then step number two is the natural thing for people to be like, yes, I'm using the Copilot as part of my day-to-day work. And I think that will take time. That change, we're in that path of kind of accepting that I will not do the old things. I will start using Copilot as a additional helper on the day-to-day basis. One step at a time.
Vesa, to your point, I think, and Waldek, I think you were getting there with what you were saying. I do think that takes a bit of a mind shift, though. It takes a bit of a people changing how they work, because I do have available to me. I have it on my system here, Copilot. I primarily use the one in Teams, but I could use it in Word and Excel and PowerPoint. But it takes today, it takes conscious thought for me to go do that.
Yeah.
It's not a immediate thing to it. And I think that's a transition that a lot of people are going through. Would you agree?
Well, I think
100%.
it might be even more than that. If you go back to like when we would first engage with, let's say, Word, what would you do every minute or two? You would save. You would Control S, save the file, save the file.
Yes. Good point.
The hand
And
still
my
does that all
kids
the
today
time.
have no idea what that is.
Yeah.
Right. We do it, and I still
Like,
do
how
it
can
without
you-
even thinking about it.
Exactly.
I do Control S several times
Yes.
a minute without even thinking about it. It's
Yeah.
unconscious. It's like picking up your mouse to move the trackball.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe that will be exactly that. Maybe for us, it will never be seamless thing because, like, as you say, like for us, we didn't grow up like with it. Like there was a time when it wasn't there.
Yeah.
For our kids, there will not be the reality. For them, there will be like the moment they come to workplace, it will like they will not know a difference. Like, what do you mean? Like, what? There was a time like you would go to the library, you would have to Google things. Like, what? So maybe that will be it. Maybe it will take another age group, the folks who kind of grow up with AI around them, and for them that will be like it will not
The instinctual.
spend, a conscious thought. They would just
It's
do
almost
it.
like the live TV versus, the new kids who have never heard about live TV and they're
waiting
amazed.
for a
Is this
movie.
live?
What?
Wow. Yes.
Yeah, insane.
This series will continue next week. Wait, what?
Yeah.
I have to wait. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Very, very much.
But yeah, technology evolves so fast.
does.
So
This has been frankly, this has been a great topic because oftentimes, and Vesa and Waldek, you are a special kind of superstar guest because normally we have to ask more questions. No, we introduced a topic and you just completely took it and ran
We
with it.
hold
And
on
I
so
love
much. Like we really
listening
try
because
to.
there's
Okay,
so many
let's-
different things to think about in terms of how I think both of you have progressed your careers and the kinds of things that you think about, and even a multi-generational view of how people just starting out now are going to think about their careers differently than we did. And I love it.
Yeah,
No.
it's interesting because like for one, selfishly for me, it's my job, right? It's my job to try to understand like how folks learn, how it evolves, and how can we meet them where they are to help them. How can they achieve more? I mean, it sounds like there you are again. I was like, yeah, but that's really true. Like we build really awesome things. We have cool tech, but it's meaningful only if you can use it to help you, right? And that's kind of like for me, that's really the whole job, right? That I try to understand it myself first, and then say, okay, if that's the way it works, that might be here are few ways, folks, in which you might want to give it a try. Maybe it's a thing, maybe not. But I think that's really it's an important part of my work, but it's also something that I am passionate about because I don't know, like if I look back after all these years, that I spent at work, first that being a side thing that I do, I love to help others. It's something that I've done for a few years now, and it's still really, really cool.
I wanted to touch really briefly on your podcast. Now, we've each been fortunate to be guests on your podcast, and I've enjoyed it over the years very much, listening to it. Once in a while, I didn't listen to every episode, but certainly several along the way. And just, I'm curious, what impact have you all seen your podcast have on the community? Because clearly that was a passion project for you.
Yes.
Like many things that we kind of do, it began with a master plan of let's do a recording. That was really the plan.
Yes.
That was the entirety of our plan. You would fit it on a post-it note.
I think it was even Chris Kent or somebody who said, wouldn't it be cool if somebody would gather the links and collect the latest news, and then we'll start promoting the community. And that was really, I would say, the post-it note basically said, promote the people, which is the important thing. So,
do a recording. And then we did one, and then we did another one, and then we stuck for 6 years, 5 years.
6 years, I guess.
Yeah, there you go.
A while. But now it's discontinued. So basically, having a weekly show with the title with the week sets the scene. You either need to do it weekly, or it's not you break the promise. And doing a weekly show is actually surprisingly time consuming. It is actually quite stressful, and every now and then you need to figure out on, okay, what are the things where we should be spending the time on, because that time which you spend on, for example, for a podcast show, you can spend it in somewhere else and potentially make a bigger impact for helping people to succeed. So it's a trade-off always. We only have 24 hours in a day, unfortunately. There must be so many cool things which we could actually do, but it's just time.
Yeah. Very well said.
On behalf of the three of us, I did want to thank you for your podcast. Very entertaining, great for me, and I think for everyone that listened to them.
And an honor to be able to participate in it. So thank you for that, and thank you for joining us today. I think that we've loved having you. We would obviously love to have you again, because I think that there's a lot more to go into on this particular topic, but we really appreciate. And we are an international band of passionate people about Microsoft and other technology tools. And so for us, bringing all of us together in one place at one time, virtually speaking, is no easy thing. So I appreciate everyone giving of their time to be able to make that happen. So thank you.
Absolutely. Definitely. Anytime. And I mean, we are here the whole week. So whenever you feel like you want us back, we will be here back. And on time this time, sorry.
Yeah, but for both of me and Waldek, I think the whole point is helping people and helping people to succeed and figuring out how we can grow the community to be more successful together. So always here to help for anybody. So definitely.
Mike, you're on mute.
Mike, you're muted.
I'm on you.
It had to happen. It had to happen.
It has to happen. I was going to say thank you. Like you had said that you scratched the surface with Copilot. I think we scratched the surface with asking you and getting some information and your knowledge as well. So it's very, very valuable. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks
Have a great day.
Thank you, folks.
Cheers. Bye.